Ni hao YouTube, what's going on? Saarland to China today again at beautiful Harbin Riverside. Freaking hot though today. The air is so humid. I mean, look at this. Very, very humid. You can just see the water in the air, you know. So humid and so hot. You're already sweating by walking around. Yeah, you know, some people were asking me, they have seen me on the many street food markets I've been to in Harbin and in China, and they were actually asking me like, how can you eat that? Don't you think this is dangerous? Don't eat that meat. Be careful with that, be careful with that. Oh, they put this inside, be careful. And for sure, they were asking me like, don't you have stomach problems afterwards? Don't you get sick? Don't you get diarrhea? And people like asking me all the time, be careful with what you eat, and are you okay with that? Are you okay with that? And yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. So I would like to do a little short answer video to that. For the Chinese viewers, you have to understand that at least German people, they are, let's say, kind of afraid to eat Chinese food. I mean, the real Chinese food. We have the Chinese restaurants, but they are completely different. If you live in Germany, you probably will never have stomach problems, or it is really, really rare that you eat something that is bad for your stomach. It will almost never happen. So German people, they are very afraid of the Chinese food, and they think kind of all Chinese food is very, very bad, very unhealthy, has a very bad quality. So many of them are asking me, how is it? Do you get sick from the food? And another important thing is you have to know, for the German people, the quality of the food and the biological and the nutritional value and the healthiness and just the no chemicals inside, no pesticides inside. This is the most important thing for German people concerning food. If it's delicious, doesn't matter. If it's beautiful, it doesn't matter. The most important thing for Germans is the food to be healthy. This is the #1 priority. So this is maybe some Chinese people will think, okay, why is he doing this video? Why are so many people asking? It's because in our country, the food has to be healthy and not delicious and not beautiful. It doesn't matter. It has to be healthy, and this is our #1 concern. So this is why so many people were asking me like, what are you eating there? Isn't it dirty? Don't you get problems? And people were telling me, be careful with that, be careful with that, don't eat that, don't eat that. And I all ate it. And so many people were asking me like, didn't you get in trouble with that? So let me tell you one thing. When you go to China on the long term, staying as a teacher or whatsoever, just staying for 1 or 2 years, I'd say like there is 100% probability of getting sick at least once. Every foreigner that goes to China will have stomach problems, that is for sure. First, you are not accustomed to the food, you're not used to eat Chinese food. The Chinese people, they have the same problems when they go to Germany. They eat the bread, the butter, the cheese, the sausages, and it's so heavy in their stomach, you know. And the Chinese have problems too with that. It's normal. But there will be a time when suddenly you feel like something isn't right with your stomach. And then it is getting worse and worse. And you can feel like it really hurts. It starts hurting, you know. You don't only have diarrhea or something, you know, you can really feel like your stomach is hurting. And if it's really bad, if you got some bacteria or viruses or whatsoever, it might be like this for a whole week. But sometimes it's not so bad, then it's like 1 day, 2 days. The thing is, it does not happen very often. It is really rare that you get sick in China, so don't be afraid of eating everything and trying everything. Maybe it happens once a year that you don't feel well. I mean, this is kind of my average. It's like once a year I feel like, okay, I ate something wrong. But now it's the interesting thing. The interesting thing is that you never know what caused the problem. You never know it. For example, I was eating all that street food market stuff, right? And never happened anything. I always felt well. Never ever had I stomach problems after eating street food in China, period. Never. I had stomach problems twice. When you go to the big restaurants, the beautiful restaurants in China, you think you get the top-notch food, which is not right. Very often in the very beautiful restaurants, the kitchen is very dirty. But on the street food, you can see what they are cooking. Oh, that is beautiful. Let me show you that. Whereas on the street food you can see everything, you know, you can see what they put inside, you can see if their stuff is clean or not. So the first time I really had stomach problems is when we went to a very, very fancy restaurant, a very big and beautiful Chinese restaurant, and the food was really, really good, and you could not see what caused the stomach problems. Everything tasted really good, everything looked really good, really fresh, really healthy. And that was in the evening, and the very next morning I was dying. I was literally dying, you know. My stomach was hurting so bad, and that was for a week. And you can never, the thing is, like, you can never tell what caused the stomach problems, you know. And the second time, I think that was in the third year, my third year here in China. I didn't eat anything, you know. That was like, okay, I think I skipped dinner. I didn't eat anything for dinner because it was so hot. And the next day, it was around 11 o'clock in the morning. I had a Coke. I drank a Coke. And at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I didn't eat anything in between because I could feel like something is wrong with my stomach. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was dead. I was dying, man. My stomach hurt it, you know, so much. And it was just a Coke. I didn't even eat anything. And, you know, I was thinking, I have more and more, I have the impression it is not the Chinese food that causes trouble. It's the hygiene, especially the hygiene on Chinese toilets, probably. You know, very often when you go to the toilet, there is unfortunately no soap on Chinese toilets. It's because Chinese toilets are free, always free. You never have to pay anything. But in most of the toilets is no soap. Nowadays it's getting more and more. It's getting better and better. Even in Chinese toilets, hygiene is getting better. They put the soap and stuff, but very often it happens that you do not have any soap and that you do not have any towels, you know. And When you go on the toilet, there's just a hole in the ground, you know, and then if you want to go back, you have to use your fingers to open this lock, you know, and yeah, you wash your hands, but without the soap, without the towels, and then you forget, you know, you thought you washed your hands, yeah, no big deal, and then you go back to the table, and sure, you eat with chopsticks all the time, but maybe there is by chance some dish you think you might want to eat with your hands, you know, for example, like chicken wings, or yeah, some chicken parts, maybe some bread is coming, you know, or some mantou, and then you want to use your hands, and you completely forgot that your hands are very, very dirty, or you have some bacteria on it, or some viruses. And I think this is the issue. I think this is the biggest issue. And also I have the impression that cleaning ladies, they don't really clean the important spots in the toilet. For example, this thing to open and to close the door. And they don't use the real chemicals we use in Germany, for example. So my personal view, hygiene on Chinese toilets is a disaster, but I don't think it doesn't matter. I think it doesn't matter, but you just have to be aware of that. Washing your hands by this is not enough, and I think this is what caused the stomach problems, because it is this parts where it's the viruses and the bacteria, and it's not, I don't think it's the food. I can tell I never had problems with the food in China. Maybe I have a good stomach. There are people who get the diarrhea much faster than other people, but I had never problems. And yeah, I can't tell anything bad. Twice, okay, 2 times it was really, really bad. When we went to the big restaurant, I cannot say which food it was, and yeah, that was once that was like a couple of weeks ago. I also went to a nice restaurant. There were many people inside, many people inside, and it was a new restaurant, and everyone said it is very, very good. I can highly recommend it. So I went there, I tried it, and the next morning I didn't feel very good. I had the diarrhea, and I had the feeling like something is wrong with my stomach, but fortunately it didn't last very long. It lasted maybe 2 days, and that was it. But still, so basically I have the impression that the only times I got really sick was like the really beautiful and fancy restaurants, the most expensive ones, and the cheap Chinese restaurants, the street food and all that stuff. Never had problems with that. Be careful to wash your hands. Maybe take some alcohol or disinfection stuff with you to clean your hands, especially when you ride the bus, ride the cab, stuff like this. But in general, I can tell you, don't be afraid to eat the Chinese food wherever you are in China. Just make sure to check the food before you eat it. Check how it is cooked. Check if the meat was in the sun. You know, stuff like this. You know, the food you eat doesn't have to be 100% clean, but there has to be certain standards. Chinese minority is playing some dance and music here. Yeah, message to the Germans. When you go to China, don't be afraid of the Chinese food. You can eat everything. Try everything. The food won't kill you. Just make sure it's fresh, make sure it is cooked, and make sure you could see how it was prepared, and then you shouldn't have any problems. For example, yeah, don't eat the meat that was in the sun and stuff like this, you know, impossible. Hope you like this video. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye. 再见.